Good morning, my brothers and sisters. I'm one of the ministers of Love Gospel Assembly. Today's nugget is of hope. Job confronts both God and his friends. Job chapter 17, verse 12 through 16 in the New King James Version. Quote, they change the night into day. The light is near, they say, in the face of darkness. If I wait for the grave as my house, if I make my bed in the darkness, if I say to corruption, you are my father, and to the worm, you are my mother and my sister. Where then is my hope? As for my hope, who can see it? Will they go down to the gates of Sheol? Shall we have rest together in the dust? What is the main point of Job chapter 17? The idea is that Job cries out to God and says, you will have to set this right, God. It is beyond me to do it. This is especially meaningful in the light of the main idea of Job's friend, that it was his responsibility to repent and set things right between himself and God. What does Job chapter 17 talks about? In this chapter, Job reflects upon the harsh criticism which his friend has passed upon him, and looking upon himself as a dying man. Verse 1. He appeals to God and begs of him speedily to appear for him and right him, because they had wronged him, and he knew not how to right himself. Verses 2 through 7. Lots of time we try to make it right on our own and fail in doing so, not allowing God to make it right for us. What is Job talking in chapter 17? Job 16 through 1 through 17, verse 16. Chapter 17 lacks a clear structure, with some verses continue from the previous chapter, and the complaints addressed alternately to God and Job's friend. Job anguish, verses 1 through 2, continue from Job chapter 16, verse 18 to 22. Job complains to God, verses 3 to 5. Job complains to his friends, verses 6 through 10. In Job chapter 17, 12 through 16, Job made a mockery of the advice. It was like going to the grave with the notion that all you have to do is treat it like a home where warmness and love one are, and it will become so. See how he shows corruption and the worm, as if he were a family with them and the nearest of kin to them. So thou he courts them as it were, that they might be willing to receive him, showing with him how willing he was to die. Where then is my hope? At the same time, this comfort did not sit well with Job. He recognized that it was a slander and a frail hope to trust in the grave. He could not be confident that hope would follow him down to Sheol and give him rest. Job therefore concludes this speech with a confident hope, wishing for death but not being satisfied or confident in that hope. What he really wanted was a resolution from God, but seemed to have given up hope for that. Job himself thought sometimes strongly confident is often harassed with doubt and fear upon the subject, in so much that his saying and his experience often appear contradictory. Perhaps it could not be otherwise. The true light was not then come. Jesus alone brought the life and immorality to the light of his gospel. What was Job's attitude towards his friend in chapter 17? Job was trying to say that it was God who had blinded the eyes of his friends, so they could not see his innocence. Of course, he did not want his friend exalted in the eyes of God because of what they had done and said. Job chapter 17 verse 5. He that speaketh flattery to his friend, even the eyes of his children shall fail. Job and his hope will be in the grave soon. That's the only conclusion that Job can reach, because God is not answering his plea for mercy and help, and his friends are actually answering him, but in a way that are totally unhelpful for him. Death and hopelessness. And since there's no counsel or advice that can help the poor suffering Job, that leaves him assuming that what's in the store for him is only death. And that leaves him feeling utterly hopeless. And so, Job starts with two verses of if, part of a conditional clause. 13, verse 13. If I wait, the grave is to be my house. If I have made spread out my bed in the darkness. Oh, the sadness. Job continues with his lament. What can we say about these words that wrench the soul and speak of the ruin of hope of men? Here is Job. He was doing so well, and then he was cut down. His beloved is dead. His finances are ruined. His body is in pain. And to add insult to the extreme injury, his friends have let him down. Can such a man survive? Can he retain his faith in God? With these words, you wonder whether he will. My spirit is broken. The days are cut short. The grave awaits me. Chapter 17, verse 1. With similarly pitiless words, he rebukes himself until at the end of the chapter he concludes. Where then is my hope? Where can see any hope for me? Who can see any hope for me? Will I go down to the gate of death? Will we descend together into dust? Chapter 17, verse 15 through 16. Where then is his hope? The answer is that in the eternal hope revealed in the person and work of Christ risen from the dead. But, oh, what a lesson for us is that Job, scrambling through darkness, asking painful questions, and with the little light that he has pre-Christ, still believing, if Job, with all that has happened to him, with the little that he knows, and how much more we know the side of Christ and his resurrection. If Job can still believe, then surely we as Christians should be able to face these disasters. This is what the Apostle Paul speaks about in Philippians chapter 4, verses 12 and 13. Quote, if I know what it is to be in need, and know what it is to have plenty, I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. The secret of contentment is based on the secret that has now been revealed, the eternal reward that is an anchor to the soul in the severest of storms, the resurrection of Christ from the dead, and that in him we also will raise. And therefore all our suffering, even those which are most confusing and still make us feel at times as Job had plenty feels. And those suffering we can now know are not purposeless but purposeful. Romans chapter 8, verse 28. Perhaps you today feel like your spirit is broken. Take comfort, my friend. Take comfort that a great saint like Job felt like that, and he survived. And he lived to tell the tale, and is not to be rebuked for the pain that he felt or his expression of the pain. And also be confronted that you have more to go on than he did. You have the revelation of Christ. The secret has been revealed. That means that you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain, but all the suffering of your soul and body are woven together with Christ into the eternal purpose of God and have meaning and significance forever. I pray this ministers to someone.
Thank you for joining us in this week's Nuggets of Hope. We hope you continue to join us, and we hope that you are blessed by each teaching. You can join us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. God bless you.